for joining us. We are having our WikiTree Challenge reveal for week 8, and our guest this week was Ellen Thompson-Jennings. So we'll go ahead and get started. Hi, Ellen. We have Greg and we have Celia. She's one of our WikiTreeers that does a lot of facilitating with the challenge participants. And of course, Greg is our one of our coordinators for the challenge. So we have everybody here, I think, that we need. We might get another guest, but maybe not. So we'll see what happens here. But I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and we'll get started. So just for anybody who doesn't know already what this is, the WikiTree Challenge is our biggest ongoing community event. Every other week, volunteers collaborate to grow 7 degrees of connections for our special genealogy guest star. So Ellen is of Family History Hound. That's her store. So she's a genealogy guest star for this week. She had a journey into genealogy begin in her teens when she interviewed her great-grandmother using questions from a book. She worked on her genealogy for a time, but then children came along and life got busy, so she put the answers she received in a cardboard box that she kept for over 40 years. Then 20 plus years ago, she decided she could do this. She had the time, and that's when this journey started. So through family history, she's discovered numerous cousins. She's learned who her ancestors were, and in some cases, why they did the things they did. So along the way,
now you do the math and you can figure out how old I am.
Well, along the way, she started her store, Shop the Hound, where she likes to showcase tools for genealogy and DNA, and some of the fun things she thinks people will like. So we'll drop that in the chat for you in a little bit. So just a quick explanation about what a CC7, you'll hear that term a lot. A CC7 is a person's number of connections on WikiTree within 7 degrees. So connections are family relationships, including relationships through marriage. So degrees just measures the distance of relationships. Nuclear relatives, for example, parents, siblings, spouses, and children are 1 degree away. Grandparents, aunts, uncles, nieces and nephews, in-laws, and grandchildren are 2 degrees. So they are connected through 2 relationships and so on. So the higher your CC7 number is, the fuller your branches in the tree are. So that's getting into those collateral lines, and sometimes you find out more information about your main lines through those collateral lines. So just want to share quickly before we get too far into the reveal, just a fun little thing that I've been tracking through the challenge for all the guest stars so far as we've gone. So we have this little graph showing the different guest stars and how far away they are from each other. So our first guest was Melly Alexander, the DNA chef. Then we had Leanne Sorensen, Randy Siever, Judy. All of a sudden, what was her? Nimer?
Okay, yes.
Munn, yeah. David Allen Lambert. And then, of course, Ellen is our most recent guest. So you can see how close you are. I think Leanne was your closest connection at ninth cousin. But it looks like you're cousins with everybody. So it's just kind of a fun little thing there for you. So I'm going to go ahead and just share briefly the space page that we were using during the week. I know, Ellen, that you have access to this, and you actually added some notes at the beginning of before the challenge started for the participants. But there's also a section here, locations, that the participants have filled out. And we'll get more into some maps to show more locations, but it's kind of a fun way to view where all we went in the challenge. It's really
Wow.
information there for you. So I'm going to turn it over to Greg.
It's amazing.
He's going to share some
stuff.
maps and really great graphics for you to look at.
Okay. So let me just, there we go. So there we go. Can you see your profile, Ellen? Okay. Can you see that okay?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So the first set of graphics I'm going to show, let me just switch to my PDF one. Okay, we're going to start with, so yeah, there's some maps. Oh, there's a lot. We're going to start with this one here. Is that the before? That's the end. Okay, that's the beginning. So one of the graphics we have is an app that I created. It's called the 7 degrees chart. So every dot on this chart represents one of the people connected in your CC7 and your close connections to 7 degrees. So this is the beginning chart as we started out. So your picture should be here in the center. And if you actually logged into this and used this app online, it would show that. The PDF that was generated because you're a living person didn't show the picture. That got hidden for privacy reasons. So but pretend your picture's here. But all the other dots are there. So the black dots are the ones who are actually your direct ancestors.
Can you actually maximize that? So
yes,
you can
I
see
can.
it a little bit bigger.
Oh, okay.
Oh, there we go. That's there. Now that's a little too.
There we go.
There we go.
Just the right amount.
Just the right amount.
There you go.
So at the beginning, you had 555 connections. So there's 555 dots. And as the interior ones are your close connections. And then as they go out to the blue is at the 7 degrees. And this is what it looks like now with 1,170 connections. Now you actually have a few more than 100, right? Is that right?
Yeah, she's actually at 1834.
Yeah,
was the ending number.
The difference is that because this app is not on the main primary WikiTree server and I'm not logged in as you, some of the people, because of the privacy connections, don't show up in the app when I generated this app. If you do it, you should get close to the full 1,800. But anyways, you can see the difference there, and it's kind of a nice. Some former guests, really enjoyed that. They thought they'd make a nice little throw rug or.
I heard they call it a meatball chart.
The meatball chart. That's I've never heard that one before. That's a good one.
It.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
I guess I wasn't on when he said that because I don't. Oh, that's fun.
But I mean,
then,
I'm not a mathematician, but that's like triple, isn't it? Almost triple.
Yeah. Well, this one is a little bit over double, but your actual value is triple. Yeah, so
wow,
that's great.
That's crazy.
And as Azure said, I mean, a lot of those are working on your collateral lines, which is great because that allows a lot of other wiki trees to join collaterally as well, and then we get all more interconnected. Though I was sad when I noticed we are not actually cousins, Ellen, or at least we haven't discovered our cousinship yet.
Well, see, and I have 2 lines that are a mystery, so like it could even be huger.
Yeah, definitely.
Any chances any French Canadian in there? Because then we'd for sure be connected.
Yeah.
Did you try refreshing?
Did you refresh?
I did refresh.
No, I mean
the image.
Click on the number. Yeah.
Oh,
there you go.
Oh, look at that. We are cousins.
It's
a miracle.
As Greg demonstrated, that number doesn't refresh itself. You have to click to refresh it.
And you told me that before, didn't you, Celia? And I totally forgot.
We all forget it. I forget it. And I'll be like, what the heck? Why is this not updating? Oh, wait.
Okay, so there is a French-Canadian line, obviously, that connects us somehow.
Oh, yeah.
And look at all those.
And then it has to be on. Oh, this is cool.
Back to mod. Wow.
That's another, what he's demonstrating is another one of our apps. The way it shows that is the WBE.
Yeah, it's a browser extension. So if you're familiar with how browser extensions work, they're little tools that you add in, and they reformat or add extra stuff to your website. So
I'll have to add that to mine.
Yes, because this is one of the nicest things is that it automatically tells you how many degrees you are from someone, and if you're a cousin, it gives you this little gray box here. And you know what? That's funny because I had refreshed the screen there, but I forgot to click on the degrees.
I think they may have changed it so it doesn't show relationship until you click it lately.
Yeah.
I've noticed that a lot of places recently.
Yeah.
So when in doubt, click the number.
Okay,
so
good
it'd be
plan.
interesting to see how we're connected because my French Canadian line isn't on here. I don't think because it's the mystery great grandfather that I still haven't figured out.
So one of the tools that we have on WikiTree is that. So I can go up to the menu here and go to choose relationship to me, and it will say how we are connected. That we are 27th cousins. And we're both descendants of Mathilde de Damartin from 1140 AD. And you can go through all the lineage. So she's your 26th great-grandmother, and she's my 26th great-grandmother as well. But I'm descended from her in 8 different ways. You apparently only have one way. My birth mother, though, was pure French Canadian. All of her family go back to this founding of Quebec. So, so there's lots of French back there.
Well, like I say, my mystery great grandfather is French Canadian, and so we might be closer than you think.
That's what I'm wondering about. Just from what's on WikiTree, there's 84 different common ancestors that we share, and you can you can go up and down this list to find one to get a different. So there's someone from Anjou, and through that connection, we're 27th cousins twice removed. So that's a fun toy to play with.
And the other the CC7 little graph we started off with, that's available to you, in your Tree Apps tab on your profile. Right. So
if you go to the Find Apps.
Oh, right. It's not in Tree Apps. I keep forgetting that it's in 6.
That's right. It's called 6
degrees.
It's called the 6 Degrees app because
Even though we use it for 7 degrees.
Using it for 7. Yeah, I created the app, and then 2 weeks after I created it, the WikiTree decided, we're going to do CC7. We're going to talk about the 7th degree, and then that just so I had to repurpose it, but I didn't rebrand it. So if we do that, it will load it up again. So,
but I'll give you all these links in an email after we're done, so you can see where we went.
There it is. I preloaded it for you right there.
Wow.
And you can go up.
And if you click any one of those dots,
it takes you there.
And shows you who they are.
Oh, okay.
So we can just click this random blue dot here, and that turns out to be Mary Sykes.
Oh, okay. I know her.
Okay. Yeah. And then there's a little chart here that shows how she'd be a sister of your great-great-grandmother from Yorkshire. And of course, you could click on this, and that'll take you right to Mary's profile.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And if you didn't want more than you could do, you could make the dots a little more informative. Either use it for initials or first name or full names. Anyways, there's lots of things you can play around with. And get lost.
I was playing around with it a little bit before.
Oh, okay then. So let's talk about maps. There's some cool maps that we made. So one of these is the map of your ancestors. And so these maps actually did come from one of the Tree apps. So to get there, let's just dial back to show you how I got there. I went from your profile, and then I click on Tree Apps.
Okay.
And depending on the last app that you use is one that'll load up. So the last app I used was your fan chart to show. So there's one of your great grandparents who's a mystery.
That's the mystery guy.
That's the mystery guy. Is this the one you suspect is French Canadian?
Oh, he's for sure French Canadian.
Oh, okay. And then there's another one over here who's Oh, it looks like there's
Yeah.
two unknown mysteries
That
there.
one's, I call that one the beaten batten mystery.
The beaten batten mystery.
It's a long story.
So there's a number of apps that have been created by WikiTree members like myself that are here, and you just click on this little drop down. You can choose the one, and the one I used to create those ancestor maps was the WikiTree Plus maps. So I clicked on that, and you can get maps of your ancestors or your descendants or just your nuclear family, or if you want to check out all your profiles, they're there. But I downloaded them, expand them here. So here's a list of all your ancestors, and I've got them color coded by century, so you can see how they migrated over the centuries. These are all your direct ancestors. So you've got a bunch coming from the Austria, Germany area.
Mm-hmm.
Looking at the color coding there, that looks like in the 18th century and 19th century, a bunch came from the UK.
Mm-hmm.
And then as the color turns from the gold to the green, you can see that's some of your Canadian ancestors there.
The weird one in Kansas and up there in
Yes.
top of Canada, if it's just the country name, it puts it in this like geographic center.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's like that one probably didn't go from Kansas to the dead center of Ontario.
Yeah, that's probably not. Probably United States,
Puerto Rico.
And the Puerto Rico was, what was that one? Let's see if I can find here's the Puerto Rico one here. If you're in the app itself, when you click on it, it'll actually bring up the profile on the side. So this person had a death place, but no location. Had a death date, but there was no location. So that's just, I guess, the default.
Sometimes they pick up weird things.
Mm-hmm.
It's not perfect. It's really cool, but every once in a while it's got some weird behavior.
It's got some quirks to it, yeah.
Still love it.
Yeah, it's great.
It's
so
cool.
I zoomed in. You can zoom in with the app, with the live app. You can zoom in at any point. It's a little crowded on the screen here, so that's why I did some PDFs of it for the reveal here. But you could zoom in. So this is a zoom in of your direct ancestors from Europe. So it looks like Austria to Germany to France. And I don't know,
right.
Was there one ancestor who went to America and then came back to France? I mean, that's what that arrow would indicate.
No, I don't know.
Or is it two different ones dying in France?
Yeah, but they would have had to come from North.
No,
unless they came from a place, or maybe their birthplace wasn't registered.
Looks like it's two different arrows. One coming from.
Don't know.
Yeah, one's coming from Austria to France.
Two different people arrows in it.
Yeah, two different people. Yeah. Anyways, and there's some and this you'll see this in other apps too. So there's obviously a cluster around the Liverpool, some in Sheffield, Yorkshire, and then a bunch in London and then south of London, and a few from Northern Ireland there. And then there's from the eastern seaboard. There's a cluster of your ancestors from there, of course.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Which of course you know about, and then the Canadian contingent, and then to the Alberta area. And
my internet's a little sketchy, so if you lose me, I'll come back.
Okay. Well, I'll keep talking as if you're here all this time, and so the broadcast will see. So the other set of maps that I have to show we did a map for each of your 8. Well, the plan was to go for each of your 8 great grandparents, but if we look back at your fan chart again, because you don't actually you only have 7 great grandparents
because
the mystery one. So I obviously didn't put the parent of the father of Harold unknown. I just did Lillian Shannon. And also when it came over to here, because William was unknown and his father was unknown, I just did a map of Maria Cotman. So,
yeah.
Which is, yeah. So if we start, we can see the starting with Shannon. So this is on your father's side. This is her, your great grandma Shannon. This is her CC7, so 7 degrees from her. So that's 2 degrees farther away. And you can see there's again a huge cluster from UK and Europe, and a massive cluster, of course, in the US and in Canada. And there's a few dots in other places. Okay. Now the blue and the red and the blue, the red dots are where they were born, the blue dots are where they died. And if they migrated, then there's a pink arrow that's connecting those two. If they stayed stationary, then it would the blue dot would be on top of the red dot. You'd only see the blue dots. But at this rate, at this level, it's just sort of one big giant conflagration, which is great for sort of getting the big picture. But I also did do screenshots of Europe only, or Europe and the UK, and then of North America. And sometimes I did a third shot as well to zoom in just to show that. But I thought for now, I just going to show you some of the big picture and then some highlights. So here's the one grandmother, Shannon, and then going around your father's mother's side. That would be all. I didn't write down, but I should have the fan chart over the other side so I get their first names. Let me just grab that and do that so I can.
It's Gladys Oliver.
Yeah, of course you would know exactly what they are.
Yeah,
who they are.
Gladys Mabel Oliver.
Yeah. So this Oliver. Yeah. Oliver here, that would be Jesse Oliver and Alice Clark. So because they're husband and wife, their CC7 is very close to each other. So if you look at this map and then the next one, it's very, very similar. There'd just be a few at the very outer periphery that would be slightly different. And again, lots in UK. Not as deep in the US as your great grandma Lillian Shannon was, which is interesting. And then if we move to the next couple, Frances Johnson, Middlebrow. How do you pronounce her last name? Middlebrow. Yeah. Middlebrow. Okay. And Ellen Aindow. So there's
Ellen Ando.
Andow. Oh, okay.
Ando?
Thank you. Ando?
Anado.
Okay. So there's Francis's, and again, lots there. And now they go a little deep. Some of his go a little deeper there and more into Europe than the previous one. And his wife is very similar, which again, husband and wife, you would expect their CC7, their connections to be, because connections, they each would share a number of connections through the other as well. So
right.
And then the last one, which is Maria Cotman. This is what her map looks like. So you've got some Nordic connections from there as well. And this is the first one I think where there's What's that?
I didn't realize that the Nordic came through that.
Yeah. So now again, some of these may be in-laws of in-laws as well, because this is the CC7, right? So they're connections, out to 7 degrees. So it's hard. If we had the live map, I could click on that and we could pull up those profiles. But there's also a few that made it to Australia and New Zealand, which is interesting. And so here's an example of some of those zoomed in maps that I made. And all of these are in a Google Drive, and Azure's going to give you a link to all of those so you can download these at any time or use the app to investigate them.
Okay, perfect.
So here's a zoomed in of Andow of where is it here? Ellen. And you can see the number of different places.
That's what it was named after.
And yeah. And then here's a zoomed in of the connections in North America. Looks like there's a lot of travel, a lot of migration.
Wow.
And then here's an example with some some of your Ireland connections as well.
Wow.
Yeah, what was one thing that was interesting, I think I did do a
Wow,
map
that's
of
crazy.
the UK. Yeah, of the UK for most of them. And some of them have huge clusters in the Liverpool and Yorkshire area, and not much farther south. And then this one, for example, this is the Clark connection, a lot in the south of London.
All Brighton.
Brighton, yes, there we go.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. And this one just smaller bits. So those are some of the maps. And so you'll have a chance to check out.
That's really, really neat.
Yeah. The other way to get maps, we used WikiTree Plus. And are you familiar with WikiTree Plus, Ellen?
No. Sorry.
So that's okay. No, that's okay. So WikiTree Plus is sort of is an additional website that uses the WikiTree database, and it has many, many features that allow you to dig deep into the database and search for specific people profiles that meet various criteria. And so you can search for suggestions, profiles that need work. The one that I use most often is just the search function right here. And in the text, you could just put your WikiTree ID, and it would find profiles related to you. You could put different locations. You could put some special keywords, so ancestors or parents or no parents, if you're looking for profiles that don't have parents and you want to attach them to it. So
specific categories.
Or specific categories. It's very, very powerful. And because it's so powerful, it is a little daunting for those who are brand new to WikiTree, and even those who are a little experienced. Takes a while to get used to all the nooks and crannies. But
the help, it has excellent help. Those question marks all go to the help things, and they are excellent.
Mm-hmm. So I clicked on the text, and that took me directly to the text search, and these are all the different key names and examples that you could use to search for various information. But one of the things you can do is you can put CC7 equals and then your user ID, and when you do that, this pulls up. I'll just click get profiles again, and it's going to search the database, and it's going to give me 1,171 profiles. Now, as Azure mentioned, your connection is over 1,800 now, but these are the ones that are public profiles. So no living people would be included in these profiles.
Right.
And so one of the options is, so then you can look at all the profiles, and you can just sort of scan through it quickly, look at the birth, death, I know that information. If they're categories, they're listed in this last area here, which might be of interest. But it also has a feature on the top here. You just click on the WikiTree Plus map, and then this is where I got all of those maps from. And then once you're in there, see, there's that cluster that I was, same sort of thing.
Wow.
And you can zoom in at a different place, and it'll redraw. And so if I say, well, who is this person in the Grand Banks over here in Saint Pierre, or in Newfoundland, I click on that profile, and then there's automatically the name of the person. And you could go straight to their profile if you wanted to investigate further. So it's very cool. Additional.
Yes, it is very cool.
Yeah. What else? Now, when we were looking at the maps and we were talking about the locations, one of the things that jumped out at us, let me go back to this map, was that, let's see, is it still here? Let me redraw it there. Right here. How the heck do you have someone in Burma? Now, do you know the connection?
I know he died there. I think I can't remember the relation. He died there I think on Christmas Day. He fell off the pier.
Oh, that must be a different one.
That's a different one.
That is a different one.
Oh, really? Oh.
Yeah. So the one here, well, let's see who this pulls up. Yes, this is the one. So Gordon Foster Trudgeon. Do you know the last name Trudgeon?
No.
No. Okay. So
No.
Gordon Foster Trudgeon is, I actually have his profile right here. When we were looking at the map and we saw there was someone in Burma, I thought, well, what's the connection to Burma? So this person, Gordon Foster Trudgeon, and let's just see how his connection to you is. So I'm going to click connection to me, and it'll give me that I am 21 degrees away from Gordon. And it see all the different all the different permutations you have to get to from me to him. But one of the tricks is I'm going to change my WikiTree ID for yours. And I've typed it in so many times that my browser remembers it. I must compliment you on having such a cool WikiTree ID number, by the way, because did you realize that your WikiTree is made up of 3 perfect squares? 64 is 8 squared, 9 is 3 squared, and 81 is 9 squared. So
don't recognize these things.
Okay.
I'm a retired math teacher.
I can tell you're a math nerd.
A resident math nerd.
I'm a DNA nerd. You're a math nerd.
That's right. Yes. So if I change that to find the connection, there's the connection. So Gordon, let me just, I'm going to reverse.
Oh, okay. And now I, yeah.
Now you see it. So he is the brother of Percy. Yeah.
Now I get it.
Now you get it. And I actually like looking at it sort of like this because then you can see
Shannon.
Okay, so your great grandmother Shannon, her brother's daughter's husband's brother. Okay,
right,
so that would make.
Right.
And that's what we mean by CC7.
That's right. Yeah. So that's right. So it would actually be your grandfather's first cousin's. Let's see.
In-law.
First cousin's brother-in-law.
Now it's complicated.
Yeah.
Right. Your grandfather's first cousin's brother-in-law.
Okay.
But Greg did a great job on the profile.
So when we first looked at it, it had one line. It said he was born in 1921 and died in 1944. But it did say killed in action, and that was it. Like it was a one-line sentence, and that was all that was on the profile. And I thought, well, that just won't do. So we had to add a little bit more to it. So I investigated, and I was able to add. So I put together a biography. I found him in the census. So he was born in 1921, and as you know, in Canada, we do the census every 10 years on the aughts or the ones. So he was born in April of 21, so he was 2 months old when the census came out in 1921. So he made the census.
He just made it.
What's that? Yeah,
he just made it.
He just made it. Yeah, just in under the wire. Yeah, he was a 2-month-old, which is cool because when they're under a year, then it gives you the exact number of months how old they are. So it's a nice way to validate, their birth records, right? That you know that you got the right person.
Right, right.
So his parents were farmers in Leslie, which is a township just outside of, close to Edmonton, actually, in that area. Then, of course, in the prairies, they do additional censuses every 5 years. So there was a 1926 census where he appeared. But the census taker misspelled his name, put down Gibson instead of Gordon. So maybe his father.
Well, there were like 8 others, weren't there?
That's right. I wrote down, no, I made this up, but I said that maybe the census taker was just exhausted from writing down so many names. Because he's one of the youngest. So he got, by then he just sort of made it up.
Close enough.
Right.
Yeah. In 1931, he was a student. He was going to school along with some of his siblings. And his oldest wasn't staying at home with him at that point. But his oldest brother actually got married in 1921. I found his marriage record as well to Annie Mae Carson was her name. And he was working as a truck driver at the time.
Oh, okay.
In the 30s, he went to Lamont High School. And then And then in 1941, in the summer of 1941, he enlisted in the Royal Canadian Air Force. And so the majority of this information actually came from his military file. Because, as you probably know, because you've done Canadian research before, I'm guessing, Ellen, the Library and Archives Canada has an amazing collection, and one of their collections is of anyone who died in World War I or World War II, has their complete file is available online. And so I went through his file, which has many, many pages to it, starting with a picture of him. So I was able to add a profile picture. And then
what a great find.
It is amazing what you can find from this. You really get a sense of the person, which is just a wonderful thing.
And when I think about it, he was living in Alberta when my family was there, and they probably didn't even know about each other.
Oh, yeah. But I mean, his brother was married to one of your relatives, right?
Yeah.
To Shannon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know, but
you don't think they knew each other that well at that point?
Yeah.
It depends on when they married.
No.
Yeah. No. So there's the letter from his high school principal to the recruiting officer, and I took a picture of that and added it to the profile. Wow. It's in the side there. I'm quite sure this young man will make a suitable addition to your force.
Okay.
He had 87 credits towards his high school diploma. So I wonder if anyone watching or
you needed 100.
Did you need 100? That's what I was wondering. Well, how many credits did you need?
Mm-hmm.
So
100.
That's interesting. 100. Okay, there you go. But then you have all of the information about even his fingerprints, his entrance, like all the things.
Oh, wow.
He had dark brown hair, blue eyes, medium hair on the face, and no marks or scars visible. When he enlisted. And then you have all these different records. There's the pay records with lots of details about when and where, and then the record of where he went.
That's great. We have a few other interesting finds.
Yeah,
we can share too.
That's right.
Celia Celia actually did a space page.
Good.
One of the interesting finds.
Okay, so I'm just going to get out of this one for now, and just go back to his thing. So all of those details are there, which you can read at your later. There's the aircraft that he flew. After his training, he was actually deployed to India, and he flew out of India. And then here's the record of when he was killed in action that came back. His body wasn't found, actually. The wreckage wasn't found until 1951. But then his parents were informed that he was found, and he was relocated and buried in the British military cemetery in Rangoon. And the last thing I want to share about this, and here's some other details of what was left in his inventory items that was left for him. I made a map on a Google map, which is right here, which I mapped all the different places that from his profile of where he grew up, his training locations, Edmonton, Calgary, Boundary Bay in BC was where he got his pilot's license. Charlottetown, he did some work there, and then he flew out of Halifax over to Karachi, Allahabad, Calcutta, Bombay. And then if we zoom in here, you can see he was shot down right there, killed in action, and then this is where his final burial is. And you can explore that Google map at your leisure as well.
Oh, wow. That's incredible.
Yeah. So that's one of the notable finds that we found. Azure, did you want to take over the screen again, or do you want me to?
Oh, sure. I can do that. Let me go there real quick. Let's see. Okay, there we go. Okay, so Celia, take it away. And just I'll drive if you just tell me where you want to go. Oh, I guess we might have lost Celia there for a minute here.
Or she's muted. Unmute yourself, Celia.
I'm not the only person.
So on the challenge space page, I'll just talk a little bit more about some of the other ones. We had a couple more interesting finds, and there was actually a one place study that was started from some of the profiles that were created, and that was for the Tobacco Warehouse, Stanley Dock, Liverpool, Lancashire. So a WikiTreeer is now developing this location. Because,
I know about this.
Yeah. And it turns out that this is quite a notable location. Some filming of some movies there. And so, but the first person that is linked there is Gertrude. Because when she was adding her profile and working on her profile, she was reading through the documentation and saw that her occupation was as a tobacco leaf stripper. And so that's what kind of got her interested in wanting to learn more about her occupation, what she did, and where she was working. And so that's how that all started up.
But that's so cool because Ellen Anado, who is my great grandmother, she was a tobacco roller.
Oh, wow.
Ah.
Yeah. Oh, and Anne, the one that is doing the study, Anne, I don't know how to pronounce her last name.
Fiordalisi?
Fiordalisi?
Yeah.
She's in the chat, actually.
Oh, is she?
So, yeah.
Excellent.
So she's tuned in here. And then another place study that we actually got into is in Duncan, Nova Scotia, and an Italian family there. So that was kind of a fun find. Brian Nash, he has a YouTube channel, How We Got Here. Yeah, so that's his study. And so right down through into here, we can find the, let's see, did I pass it?
There was I saw a Santo somewhere.
Oh, and Antonelli, right? Or Antonello? Here we go, Antonello.
No, yeah.
So I'm just going to go over to that one place study category. And if you go down here, you can see in the A's, Enzo Antonello is how you're connected to this family in Duncan, Nova Scotia.
Neat.
Yeah. He married Teresa Bernadine Burke. Yeah. So there's some Italy locations.
Nice. Celia's back from taking her dog on a break.
Oh, great. Okay, great. So we'll go back over to the space page that she created. So Celia, just go ahead and tell me where you'd like me to go. Oh, you're still muted.
You're still muted, though.
Now I'm unmuted. This was, can't remember exactly. It is it's through Victor Rosley. Is the
okay? Let me go down to his profile real quick. Let's see.
I may not have linked his profile on here.
Oh, that's okay. I can go to. We have him linked here. His parents are linked here.
Yep.
Okay,
so Victor, this was specifically, specifically we were looking into who the Rosley family is, because we couldn't figure out anything about them. They'd said they were born in England, and it was completely false. They both the kids are listed as being born in County Durham, England, and England has fantastic records. So long as anyone was born there, they're supposed to register in that time, and there's no registers of those people, and there's nothing in the censuses. There's a Rosley family in that area, who's sort of nobility, but nothing that actually connected to these people. And Anne Browning, that's not her actual name, is it? That's her maiden name. Sorry, I only ever know people by their calls on on Discord. But she just did a newspaper search or something and came up with a bunch of things about them. This family was performers, and they had a whole
oh wow.
They had a troupe, the Rosley kids, and it's actually really interesting. There's this one that I linked, and if you dig into it at all, they had like a whole bunch of, apparently there was a very famous sort of drag military thing in Canada, and they had the junior version of it with like 14-year-olds and stuff like that. Ridiculously interesting stuff to read about it. But so the Rosley family themselves they had these troupes, and they ran a couple theaters, did vaudeville, burlesque, stuff like that. Clearly these people were very experienced with it. And so when I started digging into the newspaper articles, if you scroll up the top, the article that's linked, Marie Rosley is listed as a Langdon in her kids' marriage information, but we couldn't find anything on that. And when we found this newspaper article about them, not newspaper, journal article, it pointed to gave her last name as Rostel, which was one of the people who traveled with them. And she was a burlesque dancer, and she owned the vaudeville company. And she certainly, there wasn't direct evidence that is Marie Rosley, but Marie Rosley was like, Jack owned this stuff, but as far as I can tell, Marie ran the troops, and she, they did everything. They planned acts, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay.
I would, it's certainly a very strong candidate for that. Seems more likely than a chorus girl, to be able to do that. But so,
okay.
All three of them were traveling together. Well, all of them were traveling during the time that the children's births are listed. And so I dug through and found a rough timeline. I don't think I gave newspaper articles for all of them, but you can pull them up. There's a couple things. At one point, her name is given as Marie Auclair. Again, I couldn't actually find anything about that.
But if they were traveling, then they wouldn't be necessarily in census, right?
Yeah, and they may have been going by aliases too. So
different names, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Very interesting.
Especially if they had to leave one town under suspicious circumstances, they change their name when they get to the next one.
Yeah. Yep. That's really interesting.
Yeah, pretty interesting. Nope.
Yeah, I think we lost Celia there. Well, maybe. There we go. There
I am.
There you are.
Sorry about that. But yes, so there was they did a lot of traveling. I could track anytime that they're all performing together, you could track them real easily. I don't know that Jack wasn't, he was off traveling with somebody else. If these are Jack's children, they're probably not Marie's. On the other hand, if they're Marie's children, they're probably not Jack's. But they really, I mean, like, they really did seem to have a very loose association with the truth. and which is they told stories for a living. This isn't surprising. They
Yeah.
literally could be children that they picked up on their travels. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
Really
they definitely had really interesting lives. Bonnie Bonnie shows up in newspaper articles as well for being a child performer when she was younger, and she married somebody who was also a performer and went on to perform in the U.S. Her son, who isn't listed or who doesn't have a profile, he was on. There was an adorable story about him being a young performer on Broadway, the youngest Canadian on Broadway.
Wow, that's really
And
interesting.
dropped again.
That's great. Thank you, Celia, for doing all that work. I'm just going to mute you. It looks like we're getting some feedback there. So here's the section about military profiles. There's some more linked there, and there's some more interesting finds for you to check out when you have some time.
Oh, no.
There's an interesting little story about this profile.
I think I'm back.
There you go. When Elizabeth Harrison got to Naples after Jerusalem, she found a trunk to be missing, and unfortunately it contained Elizabeth's wedding ring and marriage certificate, among many other things. The ship it was on was said to have sunk. So that's a sad little story there.
Oh.
And then there's this gentleman, Thomas Harrison, was expecting an end of the world. And so there's a story about him in here that you might want to check out. So just some.
That must be her husband.
What's that?
I said that must be her husband.
Oh, mm-hmm.
She was also. Yeah. They're doing the same path.
Yeah. So those were some of the interesting finds that we had, and the military profiles that we came across that the participants shared with us. So does anybody have anything else they would like to share or talk about?
I think we covered a lot of the highlights.
Yeah,
I may have lost
so. We did have a few more military profiles that were mentioned. Lawrence Virgil Pym was also killed in action in Italy, and John Joseph Formby, is that how you pronounce that? Formby? Mm-hmm. Also in France, killed in action in France. So they're just wanted to make mention of those couple of profiles there. So, all right. Well,
those are ones I'm aware of.
There is your reveal, and on your profile, of course, you can see your CC7 is now at 1845. At the end of the week, we were at 1834, and I know, Greg, you added about 8 people there when you were doing
I added all the siblings.
Yeah.
For Gordon. Yeah.
So that was after the challenge ended, but it always kind of turns out kind of fall down a rabbit hole, and you want to kind of keep going.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right. Well,
yeah, I mean, you found so many people.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was great. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I mean, can you hear me?
All right.
Yeah. You go ahead, Ellen.
Yeah, you go ahead, Ellen. I'm sorry. Didn't mean to talk over you.
No, that's okay. It's my internet. Sorry.
We're all having little problems today.
It'll get better next time.
Yeah. The tech trials. Yes. Oh yeah, we had Mert is in the chat giving her congratulations. different ones that were part of the
Thank you.
challenge are also in the chat, so that was kind of nice. All right. Well, thank you
so
everybody
much.
for
I mean,
tuning
it's
in.
incredible work.
We really have a lot of fun and enjoy it.
Mhm.
So if you haven't signed up for the next challenge is actually got started. Thomas McCanty is our next one, but we do have another challenge starting in a couple another weeks that just got opened up the registration for Lisa Louise Cook, so you can look for that information. All right, well, we'll see everybody around the tree, and
nice.
Ellen, I'll be in touch and sharing some links with you.
Okay, thank you so
Bye.
much.
Hi.